Okay, great. So my first question to you is, can you tell me something about Bold Capital?
Yes, so Bold Capital, we are a hybrid type company. To sum it up, we are a marketing firm that specializes in direct consumer retail companies, but we also help out on venture capital as well. And we help them on more on preparing for a capital raise. And then at the same time, a lot of companies will use us as an advisory firm where they'll give us equity in the company to help them, but for exchange for advice and counsel.
Oh, this sounds pretty similar to Shark Tank, isn't it?
Yeah, so Shark Tank is more they'll invest into the companies, and that will be kind of like the first like area of relationship. And so, but for us, we actually start with like the marketing first. So we will build relationships with the marketing client, and then at that point build relationship, and if it turns into something more on a deeper level of work with, we then move into equity.
Oh, okay. All right. That sounds pretty interesting. So, I mean, what inspired you to start Bold Capital? Was there somewhere you got your inspiration from, or did you always have this idea in your mind?
Yeah, actually, I always had the idea in the mind. For the past 10 years, I actually have papers and, so many notes. I actually have a little box right here that I keep all my notes in, and, even from like 10 years ago, things that I was dreaming of. And so, I started companies prior, and then I kind of hit one point of, hey, what's the next thing? And then I didn't know a lot of the terminology or the technicalities or the processes as to like what to do. So I actually joined a private equity firm. And at that private equity firm, I was an executive CMO. And so I learned a lot from them. And, it was a great time there. It was the first job I ever had. So just a few years ago, I was there. So I left that firm mainly because I had a vision of my own to create my own firm, started my own firm, Bold Capital.
That's great. That's very interesting to hear. Can you tell me something about your journey as an entrepreneur? I mean, you have been working with companies before Bold Capital. So, I mean, you obviously have the experience which is required for your level, but there are some things which are new to an entrepreneur and a founder, which you might not have experienced when you were working as an executive. So what are those things? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is you have total risk. You're taking on a total risk, and it takes a certain level of focus and understanding of what you want to do, and you have to believe that it's going to come to pass no matter what. So there's this real desire that has to be inside you to want to make it work, because everybody nobody cares what your vision is, nobody cares what your dreams are. At that point when you're first starting a company, you really have to pick the whole company on your shoulders, find good people that can have the same vision with you, believe in the vision, and little by little you build momentum. And sometimes you're lucky enough to build fast momentum. But the number one thing that you get as an entrepreneur that you don't get at a workplace is really the risk factor. I think is the dependency is not there, and so you have to practice extreme focus on that, to the vision, and extreme focus to what you feel no matter what. So and by the way, it's like pretty much not a feeling, it's just the knowing. It's like, because there's times that you'll feel like it will never happen, what you want to do. But yeah, that's pretty much.
Wow, very well put. I mean, I never thought of it that way. The risk factor, the accountability is absolutely right. Okay, so since you worked as a CMO and our subject focuses towards marketing, I would like to ask you some questions in that capacity. So, what, according to you, is the importance of marketing in everyday life? I mean, I've been observing that since I was a kid to now, the forms of marketing may have changed, but then the momentum and some traditional change to modern, but then the importance of marketing was still existing. So, what, according to you, is the importance of marketing?
Yeah, and if I understand the question correctly, so basically, what's important to marketing? What's the, there's so many avenues and streams of marketing. What is the common, you know, the common thing that brings it together, and what is marketing to me? Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so we're always marketing something, whether we realize it or not. If we're bad marketing is still marketing. It's just we're presenting ourselves, and I always say, if it's remarkable, then it's marketable. And so, like, I think that's the first key of like marketing is you start with the end users in mind as to what they want, and it's attraction marketing. You don't, if it's something that's truly solving a problem, that's really the place that you have to start, and it has to be a real problem. It can't be something made up, or hey, a self-created problem, so then you solve it yourself. So I've seen people try to, businesses and people, they try to market something, and it's like it's how big is the problem. And so really, the larger the problem, the better opportunity for marketing there is. And then also, there's opportunity for manipulation too. And so, that's the difference between, I think, ethical communication and non-ethical marketing is, what you do in a marketing funnel, when you find a need or a niche that has a need, and you're able to build out a message around that, is you're solving that problem, and you're actually solving it in a way that the product or the service is fulfilling that void in such a way that there's a fulfillment to that. And then if you're able to convey that message in a way that connects to the person, then you've won. And so really, you're starting with solving that problem, and then you're connecting that message. It's easier said than done, because there's so many other people out there trying to say the same thing. So you have to stand out. And so, that's where it gets complicated, is how do you stand out? How are you the one that's heard? And, that's what I love about direct consumer, which another word is DTC, and that just means direct consumer. And so, it's a buzzword in marketing, but at the end of the day, if you can connect with the person, go directly to their heart, where they remember you, that's where you win customers, and then tell people about you. So if you have excellent values and excellent products, and you do everything in excellence, and then you present that to them in an excellent way, and you go directly to them, then they'll talk about you, and they'll remember you, and then they'll tell their friends, and that's how you build a company on marketing. And and then it drips down into all your stuff, videos, creatives, everything. It drips down into. But if your values are right, then it water falls down.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard all of these terms when I study it, but then practically hearing it from somebody who has an experience like yours, it really feels like, I can connect the theory to the practical world. So,
Yeah,
okay. My next question for you is, what do you think are the skills that are absolutely necessary that you should have as a marketer?
yeah. I think some of the skill sets are, there's a balance of being analytical, and then also creative. And what I mean by that is so, like, the creative side of the brain, it's kind of collaborative and outside the box, and it's not really in the data. You don't see it all the time. It's somewhat, you're outside, you're doing something, you're inspired by something, and and you're like, it wasn't even trying to come up with an idea, and it comes to you. And a lot of times that's like where the good ideas come. You your mind rests, and then it comes out. But then there's a whole other side of that. So I would call it like the creative mind. And it's like you have to allow that side to really work. And you have to be able to like collaborate as well with others, because that's another way of how that comes out. But really, it's like that creative side, and then the balance of the analytical, because you just can't you have to follow the data. That's the great thing about marketing now. We have so much data points, so we can actually quantify the quality. We can qualify that we can quantify it as well. So now, being able to look at the analytics and say, well, all right, well, we have this idea, let's test it, so we can test faster than ever. So truly able to, build, split tests off of those ideas, and then iterate off of those and continue to build that out is really powerful. So I think the idea is really, it's twofold. It's one, there's the creative mind, and then you have to have the analytical mind, but then take that data that you've tested and make it actionable. You figure out something from that data, and you say, okay, this is what this means, so let's continue to move forward. So that's like the first side of it. And then the other side of the coin is, really trying to understand what are the true problems. I think so many marketers, they just do the standard things of like, okay, I'm gonna push this message out there, or I'm gonna build a website, and just the fundamental stuff, best practices. And there's a lot of like noise out there that can like fill in the gaps and really does a good job. But like, the marketing that really makes impact is the stuff that you say, well, these are the objectives that are actually going to move the needle. Like all this stuff is minors. Like these are the major things. And I think that that's like what really, when you can find those major things and then stack those major things up and hit those major objectives, and you're able to actually figure out what's going to move the needle, that's important. And then the last thing that's important is not sacrificing, this is a big one, not sacrificing long-term success for short-term benefits. And a lot of times we will do this in everything in life, the economy and everything. And it happens in marketing as well, where, we'll try to do something because it has to fix a situation. But by fixing the situation, you've slowed down other areas long term, and it has more implications. So it's like trying to figure out what's the best thing for the long term. That's what's important.
Wow, I really agree with the last point about not sacrificing your long-term objectives for short-term, because in general, also in the marketing and the customer service industry, we're always pressurized so much about setting the short-term objectives and achieving this number, that number, but there's rarely somebody who looks at the bigger picture and then takes the steps towards it. So I really like this point. Okay, so moving on to my
I can give an example of that. I can kind of clarify that a little bit more, because so like like if you have a situation where like even in marketing, like you could do a campaign that says, okay, yes, I'm going to go ahead and market to these people, and then I'm going to decrease the cost per acquisition because I'm going to say a certain message to them, and it does really good for 3 to 4 weeks, and you're getting really good numbers. But then after 3 to 4 weeks, like you've used up all of that pool of people, and now you have to start over, if you will, because those people aren't there, and you have to figure out, oh, how am I going to fill that pool up with people? And because they weren't coming in fast enough, and so then you have to now slow down after 4 weeks to rebuild that. And that's an example of 3 to 4 weeks. Sometimes people do that for 6 months, and then they have 2 years of rebuilding because they've pulled out all the resources, and then they have to. And then so sometimes these are like agencies, or these are like consultants that actually don't care about the long-term success. They just care about like the present. And so we gotta watch out for those people, because that's a lot of times in situations of businesses that these people will come in, and not just people, but ideas. And so it's like, what's the idea that, yes, it makes success now, but it builds for the future. You're compounding. You should always be compounding. Nothing, there should be, and a lot of times the way to kind of fix this is understanding your KPIs across the board, and everything should be going up together. That should be positive. And so if you have something that should be going up alongside your growth, and then you see kind of it crosses over, and the graphs, there's indicators as to, wait, there's something off here, let's do some digging. So but there's a lot to that, but yeah, that happens a lot of industries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so my next question is kind of along the similar lines of this one. Just one sentence you said struck me. So, what do you think? Is it easier to market brands which are already built, I mean, stronger brands in the market compared to some brands which are just starting out?
Mm-hmm.
Wo-
Yeah, yeah. Well, I would say naturally yes, because there's data there. If you're talking about marketing in the sense of who you market to, because if you have like an email list and you have people have seen you somewhat, there's data there. Simply like in the product's already received and it's growing, the company's there. Yeah, I mean, you have a head start because you have data there, and then you have a platform already. So if you want to launch a product, like a brand new product within that company, like it's super super simple. The downside is if it's a company that's been around and like the market's changing or there's a trend, and maybe they're not as flexible and quick enough to be able to jump on that trend to grow fast. Whereas a new company might be able to come in and say, oh, there's something brand new. We have no resources. So let's like try to figure it out as fast as possible. And so we got to depend upon new ways and new ideas. Sometimes that is the benefit of being new. But the downside to being new is, you have all things against you. You have all odds against you. More than 90% of new companies fail. It's like to get to that success range as a new company is pretty rare. So it's yeah. So that's, even in what I like, if I were to like start companies or start a company, that was like a company that wasn't an investment company or a marketing company, but if it was like a real direct consumer company, if I had a choice to like start one up or buy one where they already had data and they already had everything together, I would honestly go and buy a company rather than start one up, because you have an advantage. And so it's really an entrepreneurial hack to it's called an acquisition entrepreneur. So you are going and buying a company to get out of that startup phase, where now you've increased your opportunity to like thrive and actually survive.
That makes a lot of sense. Acquiring a company instead of starting a new one yourself.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So my next question for you is, what are the cons of working in the marketing industry?
What's the what?
What the cons, the downsides to working in the marketing industry?
Yeah, so it's changing so much, it's so fast, and there's a lot of things that make it difficult. Then like, you as a marketing team, you depend upon data to make decisions, and then you also you have to have that data to, you talk about building a relationship with your people you're marketing with. Well, like, specifically like within digital marketing, it's called remarketing. So you cookie the person and then you remarket that message. And a different form of remarketing is, a billboard that you set in a strategic area because people drive in this highly crowded area every single day to and from work. So they see it going to work and they see it coming back every morning. They're seeing it. So they're seeing it, they're getting an impression. So like, it's important to have heavy impressions. and to switch up that message too, but yet keep the same value in the same direction. But with current data issues and current data laws, those are being tried right now, where marketers aren't getting the data because it's kind of the hot topic right now. Is it ethical to have all this data? Is it all the leaks that have happened on Facebook, and so that's one major thing, and there has been abuse to that data. But when it's handled correctly, that's like power. And so being able to build that relationship with that customer and communicate those things. In fact, when you actually are like having a good experience with ads, and with advertising and good marketing, like you want good ad, like it's like exciting because you're actually getting things that you're interested in, and you're going to go and discover things. And people say, "Oh, I found this. This is what I found." But most times when someone feels like they found something, they're actually being advertised, and they didn't know it. And they were being influenced over, a period of, 1 to 6 months. But anyways, like that's a big con right now. That's a challenging thing happening right now. And then obviously supply chain is another big thing. If you're in a physical product, supply chain is being challenged right now. So a lot of companies are having to figure out, where, their whole supply chain, because it's been hard to import from China. And then there's backup. And so, you can't, in order to really survive, you have to buy more even, but people don't have the capital for it. And then, so it's like, how do you get the capital? Well, you either got to go fundraise, or you got to go take out debt from a bank, or you figured out how to save, and sell the product that you have. And so that's a really hard thing to do. So these are marketing issues, but also they're operation issues, but they're pretty interconnected.
Okay, yeah. Okay, all right. So my next question for you is, how do you think COVID has impacted the marketing industry overall? Is it a positive impact? Is it a negative impact? Is it somewhat of a mix?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with the negative, leading in from the point that I just was speaking about, supply chain. So COVID has affected supply chain opportunities, where you used to be able to get a product, 3 to 4 weeks, 21 days to 28 days lead time. Now, you're like 6 to 8 weeks, if you're lucky. So that's one major negative area. And then, and even, things are getting stuck in supply chain. But then that's also driving costs up, cost of goods. So this all affects the marketing, because now it's like everybody is trying to grow as fast as possible in certain areas. So people, it drives marketing costs up. It drives COGS cost up, because if the economics of the cost of goods go up, well, that inflation also trickles into media buying too, because now the advertiser or the brand itself, they're upping their prices. And then it's multiple different layers of inflation that just starts to trickle in. And so that's the negative. Like inflation really is accelerated. The other area is CPM prices. That's what they call it in marketing. That has been, we would want it to decrease, but it's been increasing naturally, and on like Facebook and other platforms, it's decreased. But like I have a theory that people have they're on social more than ever, more than they were during COVID. So I have no data on this, but it's an interesting thought of like now, because they've been on social so much, that it's actually harder to make that person purchase. And so it'd be an interesting case study to look at, of like customer journey, how that's changed, if any. And then how much more has Amazon grown? But I think that that's another area of like of opportunity though. It's like e-commerce will expand, marketing. There's always opportunity in hard areas. So yeah, I mean, I think that that's the negative side, but the upside is, more people are online at this point. More people are home, so they're on Wi-Fi more often, which means faster internet speed. If faster internet speed normally means faster conversion rate. Faster conversion rate, normally means more revenue. And so, the companies that can survive and make it through these hard times, they're not just surviving, they can thrive. And so, but it makes it hard because it's like the bad companies, I don't want to say bad companies, but the companies that are already having a hard time, they're going to have much more hard time. The companies that had an advantage, they're going to have a hard time, but there becomes like a separation, and like the average company really isn't average anymore. It's either they're good or bad, and it's like there's a bigger gap that's happening. So yeah, I think that's can be a good thing though if you are on the good side.
Yeah, true. So I mean, what you mean to say is COVID has forced average agencies to pick a side during the pandemic. It's either you triumph the situation and come out as a victor, or you just become a company which is all below average now.
Yep. That's it's specifically online. I don't know so much about like a localized area, like a brick and mortar shop. But companies that sell online, there is a dividing, like, it's like you're either going to have a downturn or you're going to grow. I don't think there's really too much options in between, because I think customers will go elsewhere if you're just like staying on one like level, and then I think attrition will set into your company over time pretty quickly, more than ever.
True. Yeah, so actually, one of my follow-up questions was that because of COVID, a lot of people have gone online, and I mean, e-commerce has seen a huge boost, because personally, even I never used to, order so much from Amazon as compared to I am now. And there are a lot of things, for example, on Instagram, there are targeted ads where I find out about new companies which are selling online. And then I end up buying it because in general, I spend more time on Instagram because, I'm working from home. I have the liberty to check my phone anytime I want without my boss, looking at me. So these are some things which have boosted the e-commerce sector, according to me. But what is something that you think is still lacking? I mean, what do you think that there's one element which can take it from good to the best?
Within e-commerce?
Yes.
Yeah. I think it comes down to, and this is what makes Amazon so great, is the quickness of the shipping times, and that also is connected to their supply chain. So they have supply chain where there's inventory that's ready to the point where, I mean, this is all ran on really smart people putting together a math problem and solving the math problem. But they know where in the United States people buy the most white t-shirts, so they will stock that area, or they know where people are going to buy desk chairs, so they are based on the data, and so they can allocate their inventory. They distribute that according to geography, and that in itself cuts down shipping time, and that's what makes it great, because customers get what they want faster and they sell it faster, so, I think the main thing that everybody wants to make it great is two things. One, they want to find what they want to find, and they want it when they want it. And that's it. It's like, I want to be able to search and find those things, and I want to get it as fast as possible. I want to load on the site. I want to be able to go through the process and not have to fill out a whole bunch of stuff. And then I want it to come as fast as possible. And that's it. I think speed is the thing that we'll continue to see. And so, naturally 5G, is going to change the world once this is rolled out. When that's at full height, that's going to speed up a whole lot. And then, when we're all in the metaverse, that'll be the next topic of things.
Okay. So we are at the end of the interview. It's my last question to you. What would you advise yourself if you had the chance to go back 5 years in time?
Yeah. I would say, keep doing what you're doing, and that one thing that you found that was the thing, when you found that one thing, do it all, like go all out. Don't do other things. Don't try to be divided in your vision. Be completely focused, and all energy and all power just flowing through you to be able to do that one thing. I think that's the number one thing that, it's like, and then really understanding that objective and like, what is that one thing? So I think a lot of people, myself included, it's like you think that these major things are major, but they're really minor areas. And so, yeah. And then that allows you not to get stuck in a rut too, when stuff is like, you can say no to things because you would say, well, this is not really what I'm doing. So yeah, I think that's what's important.
All right. Thank you so much, Michael. It was so great talking to you. And I could actually, visualize working in the industry because you gave such brilliant answers, and, they were very well explained. So thank you so much. It was really lovely talking to you.
Yeah, likewise. Great job, and best of luck to you and Harman, and your studies and your career. And we'll be looking for great things.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Talk soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye.
Khush.